Recording, and I am gonna let all of the people in. Here we
Let
go.
my people in.
Welcome to the people. I'm trying to like all the songs that have been in my head lately. But
Are you going to sing all of them now?
I've been
At the
listening
same
to a
time.
lot. I've been listening to a lot of Prince, y'all. Just like
Mm.
that was my jam yesterday. Was just like full like long Prince playlists and his cover. No, wait, Sinead's is the cover, right? Of Nothing Compares to You. Nothing compares. You got right. This is
Yes.
a great song. Who the OG is Prince, right? And Sinead did did the cover. Anyway, it's a great song. Whoever sings it. And if you've listened to only Sinead and not Prince, anyway, what a good song. Welcome everyone. Hi.
I have something to share with you on that level, Siobhan.
Yes, come on.
My brother-in-law is the co-founder of the Portland Cello Project.
Okay.
It's a band in Portland, and they take everything from Kanye West to Taylor Swift, and they turn it into cello music. But they also have a horn, drums, bass, and all that stuff. Last year or the year before, they did the entire Radiohead OK Computer album.
Yes.
And I watched them in concert twice doing it. It was amazing. This November, they are going to be releasing a Prince tribute album. So, yes. So I would strongly recommend check out the Portland Cello Project and pick it up. They do have a couple of videos or a couple of singles out with them doing some of the Prince covers, and it's just, it's so good.
Like the
That's cool.
Philharmonic doing the Beatles. Schmel.
Right.
We are on.
Symphonic Beatles. Yes.
Welcome everyone. This is not a Prince Zoom hour, even though I'm not opposed to that. Sorry, Tom Deere, I did not warn you that. Yeah, some people are like, "Wait, I'm in the wrong place." Other people are like, "I thought I was coming to talk about voiceover, but
On
now
Zoom room.
now we're talking about Prince." There's a lot of Zoom rooms. Welcome, love them, love the Radiohead covers, y'all. Hey, we are having a good Thursday. Welcome, my people. Today is, gosh, it is November 4th, meaning we are spiraling into the end of the year. It is maybe not spiraling, maybe sauntering. How about I say that? Because that makes me sound like I know what I'm doing. But okay, so my name is Siobhan. I am your host for today's session of Ask Me Anything here at Edge Studio. We are in the 40s. We are just totally reasonable adults at this point. We make good decisions with our lives. Hello to Dina. Hello, everybody. If you want to, you guys are
Hey,
funny.
Dina.
If you want to say hi in the chat, we love to see you. If this is your first time, welcome to my Zoom. Well, that's my Zoom left. My Zoom right. We do have David Goldberg, the Chief Edge Officer of Edge Studio. Good day, David. How are you?
I'm good. And I'd like to know if anyone has heard the new ABBA album called Voyage. Any ABBA fans out there?
Okay,
You've
Schmel.
heard it. I see one guy. A couple thumbs up. Is it good?
Tell us in the chat how
Yeah,
we feel.
so. Yeah.
Oh,
It's such a great band. I watched a whole documentary on the new album this morning. It's really interesting. And their concert tour should be very interesting. Anyway, more on that some other time. But cool. Hi, guys. Welcome. Episode 42, right, Siobhan? 42?
42, and
Wow.
Apple never does bad stuff. That is very true. I personally am a big fan of the Mamma Mia musical as a theater person, so there we are with that. Yes, my Halloween costume. Thank you, everyone. I did pull off Mary Poppins with flying colors. None of you were disappointed in my ability to do. You all believed in me, so I appreciate that. And I am a big fan of Halloween. I am also a big fan of our guest star today, my friend. I have also trained with this person, and this person has been training at Edge Studio, as in coaching folks at Edge Studio for quite some time. We have Tom Deere. Hello, Tom.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We will take great. That is a very good response. I am also really well. I have sunshine. I can't complain, as they say. Tom, I just want to get this thing going, rock and roll. We are recording, my friends, across the internet waves. This will be posted tomorrow on our YouTube account. So if you're like, oh, I lost some information or whatever, it will be there to stay, and I will share it on our socials. If this is your first time, the way this works is I like to see your cameras on because it just makes me happy to see you laugh at my jokes, even if it's just out of courtesy and not because you actually think I'm funny. But you don't have to. You can have your Zoom experience however you want. In the up hand corner, in the right hand corner of your screen, top right, the view channel, it gives you an option to do speaker or gallery. I do these recordings in gallery because, again, I like to look at your faces. But if you want speaker mode, because why wouldn't you? We're so cute. I don't judge you for that at all. It's your Zoom experience. In the chat, we will be asking questions to Tom and David about all things voiceover. We don't, that's what we're here to talk about. We're not really experts in anything else. I know when when Issa was here last week, he was like, I am only an expert in sleeping. That's what I'm an expert in. So we don't claim to be, we're here to talk and learn from each other. And we have so much to learn from Tom, because not only is he a full-time working voice actor, but he offers a lot of services to voice actors regarding how we budget our time, plan our days, live our lives, and like don't, spiral into madness. I would know because he coached me into this practice. So let's get this going. What I want to do first is just do a little bit of intro with you, Tom. Just tell us a little bit about your foundation, how you came into voice acting, and a little bit about some of the stuff that your past few years of really helping voice actors kind of figure out their path in this career, if that makes sense.
Sure. Okay. I decided I wanted to be a voice actor in 1994. So I had just dropped out of the National Shakespeare Conservatory here in Manhattan. My plan was to be a working Shakespearean actor. I wanted to be a blue collar, boots on the ground, living and working in New York City, just doing Shakespeare. I didn't want to be rich or famous or be in Hollywood. I didn't want that. I just wanted to ply my trade as a Shakespearean actor. Didn't work out. I left school for lots of reasons, but it just wasn't working for me personally. So I was living in New Jersey at home at the time, and my mom was reading a copy of New Jersey Monthly Magazine. And in the back of the magazine, there was all these want ads and classifieds and stuff. And, she's like, what's voiceover? And I'm like, and I'm like, I don't know, you kind of like talk for money. And I'd like vaguely heard about it, that some on camera and theater and film actors were doing it as like a side hustle. Side hustle wasn't a term used in the 90s, but I'm just transposing it. And she said, well, there's this coach nearby, you may want to check it out. So I called this coach, talked to her. She brought me in for a diagnostic. So I did it, and she said, yeah, you could do voiceover work. So I worked with her for like 6 months, doing commercial genre coaching. And then in 1995, I recorded my demo, which actually I have here. So yes, it is a cassette. How old I am. And I got my little certificate, and then she gave me a stack of Xerox copies. And she said, here's a list of production companies. Start your cold calling, and good luck. So being that this was 1995, there was no social media. There was no pay-to-play sites. There was barely an internet. It was like 5 years after the first, website. So all I had was a demo and a dream and a stack of these papers. So I just made all these decisions about how to start and run my voiceover career, and all of them were made out of fear, ignorance, ego, and insecurity. So needless to say, I didn't do well for a very, very long time. Then in 2005, I got fired from the last job I'll ever have. And that kind of got me going. So I said, okay, I guess I'm going to really try this. And then I struggled for a few more years, and then started to kind of figure this out, started to build my system of what it means to be a business, what it means to run a business, and get out of the mindset, which we'll talk about in managing your marketing, your marketing mindset. And then I turned the corner. And then all the work that I had done for almost 15 years of planting seeds and learning and growing and figuring out what it means to be an effective voiceover business, because I'm sure everybody here has a nice voice, but nobody cares because your talent means nothing. Frankly, your talent is the least important part of your voiceover business. It's the minimum requirement. It's the prerequisite to having a chance at running a voiceover business. You know, I own a pen, doesn't make me a best-selling author. So just because I have a nice voice doesn't mean that I can be an effective voiceover business. And that is why I teach what I teach. And this young man, David Goldberg, discovered me at a voiceover conference 10 years ago talking about this sort of thing. And then he brought me on as part of the Edge Studio family. So that's how 10 years ago I became part of the Edge Studio family, talking about all the things that I wish that I knew in those 15 years of struggling as a voice actor, and then sharing that with wonderful people like you to set you up for success. So you don't have to waste 15 years. So that's pretty much my origin story.
Unfortunately, you're wrong on one small detail.
Uh-oh. What?
This young man.
Yes, this young man.
Yeah, I'm not so young anymore.
Neither am I, but that's okay.
Sorry, David. We're referring to you. That's my new intro for you. The young man on my Zoom right, David Goldberg.
Right.
So yeah, I was gonna say I love these timestamps, including the cassette. There might even be some people in this Zoom experience who've never used a cassette tape. I certainly have. I used to record from the radio, you know, a song that I wanted to like listen to, right? And I'd get so mad when the DJ talks over the end of my song, you know. So you just brought me back to my
You're ruining my mixtape, man.
mixtape, my actual mixtape. So thanks for those nostalgic memories.
My pleasure.
Listen, Siobhan, while you launch into questions,
Yes.
I'm going to grab something for everyone. So I'm going to duck off. We'll be back within 20 seconds with something to share with everyone. I think it will be fun.
Okay, I love this. Tom, you have inspired a show and tell. The
Oh,
cat's
God.
away, y'all. Let's talk. Okay, so let's get into it. Any questions you have? I mean, Tom does a variety of genres in the voiceover world. Do you also do audiobooks, Tom? You do, right?
I do. Yes, I do audiobooks. I've got, oh, wait a minute. What do we got, Dave?
This
What
is
is
a
this?
box of cassettes, CDs, and records, by the way. Records, vinyl discs that were recorded at Edge Studio years ago. This is just one of about 3 boxes of them, cases of these things.
Wow.
Okay, show us one, David.
Yeah, I'm looking for a good one. Let's see. Maybe.
Show us your Victrola.
Oh, my. Oh, wow. Actual vinyl. That's crazy.
Yeah, vinyl, yeah.
Wow.
And this box here are just cassettes, mainly voiceover cassettes. So we have Feeling, a Form of Prayer. This is a spoken word recording, meditation cassettes, audio tours. You can buy the Brooklyn Bridge cassette.
Ooh.
All these are just cassettes of voiceover. My goodness.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, you know, sometimes we age ourselves even if we don't mean to. I'm going to remove the spotlight. David, thank you for sharing that with us. Vinyl or demos or SFX
Nice.
vinyl.
All the dust now. Ooh.
Yeah, I know. So to answer your question, Siobhan, yes, I do narrate audiobooks.
Yes.
I've got, what do I got? 70 something, 72 or 73 titles on Audible. I did my first audiobook, I think in 2007. It was actually a Danielle Steele romance novel. That was actually my first audiobook. So yes, I do have audiobook experience.
Oh, heck yeah. Okay. So the reason I brought that up is to say Tom has done it all. Narration, commercial. He also has been in the animation world, and he's voiced toys, and so he's done a lot. So we have a gold mine of opportunity to ask questions to Tom. I also just want to say a little bit about the organizing and kind of structure of the voiceover life. I want to sort of bring us into that because a lot of times on these panels and in general talking to voice actors, people feel overwhelmed, like genuinely overwhelmed. It's like I gotta edit all my stuff really well. I have to understand my DAWs. I have to market. I have a website. I have to like practice, right, to be good at my craft. I also need to have a pitch deck and all of these things. And I'm just curious. I just want to, as we get this started, Tom, what is it? Because you were saying that you work in this field specifically with voice actors because no one helped you do it and you were
Mhm.
lost, in the world, which is like legit because it's so much that is involved in this industry. Um, what are some of the discoveries, I guess, that you've found or like in your life maybe that brought you in that helps you or like what are the molds with which you talk to people about this kind of work? I'm kind
Mm.
of getting broad here, but like
Okay. Yeah. No, I can answer that. So my biggest discovery to kind of get me from one side of the voiceover industry to where I am now, we'll say outside of the voiceover industry to actually being, having a lucrative career as a voice actor, is understanding the difference between being an employee, a starving artist, and a business. We are all raised to think like little soldiers and worker bees because that's how our educational system is designed. And that's our expectation when we go get that 9 to 5 or salaried position. So that does not train us to be effective, self-determining entrepreneurs that run our own business. So from an educational level, we are not set up for success. The other thing is this, what I call the American Idol chorus line, God, I hope I get it, audition and pray, if you're not a star, you're a loser mentality that we as Americans have had thrust upon us all of our lives. You have to work hard to be a doctor, but you got to get lucky and get discovered to be an actor. That stuff drives me bonkers. It's so insulting to people in our profession, in the artistic arts of music, modeling, dance, theater, voiceover. It's a real insult. And it's not out of malice, it's just out of ignorance. Most people just don't understand what it takes to be effective. And that's what I talk about all the time in all of my classes, business, marketing, or genre, is to understand how to be effective. So I started waiting tables when I was, in college as a theater actor, and then coming here to the city for National Shakespeare Conservatory. It's like, oh, well, that's what real actors do. They wait tables and then they get discovered because that's how it goes, right? Needless to say, that didn't work out. I was like living this ridiculous, foolish lie of that's how it's going to work, because all the stuff that we have been trained to think about what it takes to be successful in the arts is all external. You're going to get lucky. You're going to get your big break. You're going to get discovered. That's a lot of crap. It's all internal. Learning how to take your voiceover career and take true control over it by developing your talent, by developing your skill sets, developing your acumen, and really holding up the mirror to yourself about what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses, and how can you address those, capitalize on those strengths and address those weaknesses. So that's really what did it for me. It was all mental. I'm as talented as I was the day I decided to become a voice actor. My talent level hasn't changed, and I'm not a particularly talented voice actor. I don't have the greatest, most mellifluous or quirky or car salesy or whatever voice. I just sound like a guy. I just sound like a regular guy, but I know what to do when it's time to press the red button. And I know what to do to set myself up before it's time to press that red button. And I know what I need to do on a project management level, what to do after I press the red button again, that I'm done recording. Because it's not about the recording session. It's not about being the artist inside the booth. That's not your voiceover career. It's about being the business outside the voiceover booth, because you're not going to get in the booth as an artist unless you are functioning effectively outside of the booth as a business. That's what I learned. That's what my learning curve was, discovering that. And that's when my career improved immediately.
Thank you, Tom. I'm like unmuted myself. I that super resonated with me. I think a lot of questions that come into, obviously, for beginning voice actors are like, how do I like get all the jobs, And of course, we always answer like there's no one answer to that. There's a lot of different ways that people begin, but the way that you begin on that journey is by coming up with a strategy for yourself, which is why
Yes.
Tom IDs as the strategist, which is a word I learned how to say because I thought it was strategist for a really long time. And part of that is, it really resonates with someone like me. I certainly lean more into the creative side. I know you all are shocked to hear that. Um, and sometimes kind of putting some structure together into and making a plan for myself can seem overwhelming or just like how do I do it? But then it's like, oh, when you start to function that way and understand that this is a path, and that it is a marathon and not a sprint, as we say, that it does actually make you feel better to work in this way. And so, I wanted to have Tom on because he has a new class coming up next month. Oh my gosh, it's November. This month,
2 weeks,
in
10
2 weeks,
days. Ah!
which, which is managing your marketing mindset. And so, Tom, a lot of what you were talking about gets distilled in this class. Yeah.
Yes. Everything, actually, what I just said, how I answered Siobhan's question, is pretty much the primer for the beginning of this class. Developing effective systems of thought, how you think about what you're supposed to think about, or metacognition, if you want to use a big fancy term, because your systems of thought influence your systems of execution. And marketing is this confluence of how you think about yourself, how you think about the voiceover industry, and how you think about your relationship to the voiceover industry. And then the systems of execution is, what is the practical application of those systems of thought? Well, since this is my understanding of how things work, therefore I need to do this, and this to execute, or to come up with an effective marketing plan and to execute my marketing plan. The wheels go off for pretty much 95% of voice actors, is because they have these assumptions about themselves and the voiceover industry and the relationship to the voiceover industry. And then that's how they manage their expectations. You manage your expectations from your assumptions. Well, since I assume this, that means I expect that. And that's why everybody sucks and is just rolling around on social media, having absolutely no idea what they're doing, and more often getting themselves into trouble than moving their business forward. And we will talk about that too.
Yeah, so obviously all of this stuff really hits a chord with me. David, any other thoughts on sort of structure and kind of this sort of like mindset that we're talking about as a voice actor? I mean, obviously, Edge Studio has to operate somehow. And I don't know if you seem to be a little more of the brain that like you're maybe coming from a more naturally organized space than those of us who were like actors, in the world. And so, would you say that is easier for you, or something you had to work on and hone to make sure Edge Studio operates?
Uh, for whatever reason, organization has always been like a passion of mine. Even as a kid, a favorite pastime would be to take all of the contents out of our family garage and organize it and put it all back into place. So that part was easy, yeah, very easy. But Tom, you said something that's really interesting, and it made me think about something. Talking about how even as children we're growing up, sort of seeing that the doctor has to work hard, whereas the actor has to get lucky. And I love that description you gave. What came to my mind is that in grade school, and even I'd say through college, I aced all the creative classes: photography, art, music, and so on. But the STEM classes, the maths and the sciences, they were a very big struggle for me. And it's interesting that the kids who did very well in the STEM classes, but horribly in the creative classes, could graduate at the top of their class. But the reverse wasn't the case.
Mm.
It is really interesting that that's the way we are brought up. I will tell all of you from my perspective as director, as coach, as someone who casts voice actors, not as the voice actor, but from our side of the glass. What Tom is saying is so dead on, guys. Running your business and being successful is so much dependent upon your act, your professionalism. We at Edge would much rather hire a voice actor with a lousier voice, even a lousier performance if they're professional, versus a voice actor with the right voice, but who just is late, is not professional, doesn't changes their numbers, forgets the script, whatever it might be. Being professional in every possible way is absolutely critical for success. And the more professional you are, the more likely you'll be hired and have repeat clients too. And
Mhm.
that's a big thing.
That is something I love about voiceovers. Like, we have no room for divas. Like, this is not a Hollywood situation. No one can see your face.
Yeah.
It does not have that kind of glory. So I want to dive into some questions from the crowd. It's okay, Shmuel. I like your face though. You do have a good face still. I see you. Yeah. So Esther, she says that she was warned to stay away from audiobooks, but is contemplating taking on a contract for a number of them. I'm so curious as to why you were warned to stay away from them. I don't think they bite, but
I
Tom.
could guess. I could guess why.
If I had to, well, if I had to guess, audiobooks are pound for pound the lowest paying versus the most amount of work. So the ratio of compensation to ergonomics, audiobooks is the least, there's see, but that's not even true. I was about to say the least ROI, but that's not true at all, because there are people who make an amazing living doing nothing but audiobooks. Um, Audiobooks is storytelling. Narrating that 15-second spot for Big Bob's used car lot is storytelling. It's all storytelling. Um, and don't deny yourself a revenue stream, to use my left brain, and then to use my right brain. Don't miss out on an opportunity to to really express yourself as an artist, which audiobooks give yourselves the greatest opportunity to do so. I mean, I do a lot of genres, but audiobooks are my favorite. It's the opportunity for me to truly dive in. And I even nonfiction audiobooks, and I do a lot of nonfiction audiobooks. I love doing nonfiction audiobooks because you're taking on the role of the author, and you need to be as engaged and as passionate as the author who wrote those words about, business leadership or time management or whatever, whatever the subject may be. But audiobooks are a wonderful way to make a living, and it can be very lucrative. Can be very lucrative.
Yeah. And the other thing about that, to follow up or to piggyback on what you said, Tom, is that, yeah, guys, so you narrate an audiobook, and at the end of the project, you've probably made a lot less money per minute of work than the time that you've spent. So pound for pound, yeah, it's not quite as profitable when you look at it in that way, but it's volume. Because, yeah, maybe you're making less money per hour, but you're working a lot of hours, and you could distill that down a step further to a salaried position. If anyone who's working at a typical job making $50,000 or $100,000 a year looks at what they're actually making an hour, that might be 25 or 40 bucks an hour when it's all broken down. You'll make that narrating an audiobook, and probably more, even after all of the editing. And as an audiobook narrator, you'll become significantly more proficient at what you do after your second and third books. So whereas in the beginning, you may have a very slow ratio, meaning it may take you 10 hours to complete 1 hour of text. But after a couple of books, you'll get that ratio down to a 6-to-1 or a 5-to-1. And the faster you are at it, you make more money per hour. So it really can be a great outlet of work.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Esther was talking about, like, it's hard, it's been hard negotiating price and that sort of thing. And I put in the chat, I feel like you will get better at that. Like, I am getting more confident with talking about prices and pushing, and I don't know, Tom, there has been a question. I'm just checking on my love over there, but I think I can't see his square. There was a question about, I want to kind of tie this stuff in about shy people.
Mm-hmm.
And so Cleon asked if there was a point, a turning point, within your career where maybe you were shyer or more intimidated by aspects of this industry. It could even be just like being an actor in New York, and like something that changed for you as you sort of, as you said, kind of claimed your career in a stronger way for voiceover. And if you have advice for shyer folks, And I'm sort of wondering if that also applies to some of what Esther's saying, or people in general. Like, how do I talk about price because it's so stressful? Are there aspects of your confidence that have grown in this
Yeah.
industry? Yeah.
Okay. I do teach a class through Edge Studio, through the business and money class, about rates and how to negotiate rates. So my answer will be a little nugget from that class. And if you want to learn more, then the next time I teach that class, I encourage you to sign up for it. But the more knowledge you have about the industry, the more confidence you will have when you're negotiating. And to try to say, oh, I can't negotiate rates because I'm shy, I'm sorry, I can't buy that. I can't buy that, because it's either you know the rate structure or you don't. Either you understand what rates are commensurate with the industry standard or you don't. And it's a matter of communicating that to the client without apologizing. Don't be apologetic about what the industry standard is. So if someone says to you, hey, I would like to, what would you charge for this? And then if obviously you go to the Edge Studio page and you check out the rate guide that Dave and the team put together so meticulously, and look at the rates and go, oh, okay, this is the range. And you say, well, the industry's, and you can just say the industry standard is this range. It's not saying what I charge, it's what the industry charges. The industry standard for this is this. And then they say, oh no, I can't pay you that. Then you say, okay. And then you just say thank you. And you say, I look forward to when you have the budget that we can work together, or something like that. And you're done. And if they say, okay, yes, I can work within that range, then you figure it out. So there's no, I mean, if you find yourself haggling back and forth with the client about a rate like it's some Arabian bazaar, then what are you doing? If this is how they operate, that they're going to try to nickel and dime you to death, why would you want to work with that client in the first place? So when they start going back and forth with me, I'm just like, okay, no thanks. You're shopping in the wrong aisle. You're trying to order, filet mignon at a Denny's, and it's like, and trying to pay for Denny's price. It's like, no, this is the industry standard. This is either you work with the industry rates or you don't. So use that as a workaround to substitute your confidence. You don't need confidence to talk like that. You don't need to be shy or not shy. You're just saying, this is the industry standard, and then they react as they will.
And I would say to everyone, know what your time is worth, know what you want to charge, what you think is fair to charge for your time. And then think of yourself as if you work at a retail store. If you are a shop clerk and a customer walks in and says, hey, do you sell a certain product and what does it cost? So you walk them over to the shelf and you look at the shelf and it says this product is X dollars. It's done. You don't need to negotiate or think about it. Now, I will say that very often clients don't give you all of the information you need to establish a meaningful price. So you should also have all of the questions ready to go. So every single day at Edge, we get a client who will say, they'll email us or call and say, hey, we need a voiceover done. What does it cost? Now, we don't know if they have a 1 word to record or a 20-hour audiobook. We don't know if they want multiple voices in multiple languages. I mean, we have no information, so we can't answer. So we say, and we are prepared to say, great, thanks for reaching out to us. To give you a meaningful price, we need to know these 5 things. Again, like the shop clerk might say, if you walk in and you say to a shop clerk, I need a product that does X, they can say, great, tell us for what application, and then we can show you the various products we have, and this is what they cost. Keep it that clear. I will tell you that when we're casting, one of the most annoying things about casting is having to haggle with a voice actor who, not even haggle, sorry, but having to pull from them a price. We'll sometimes say to a voice actor, what do you charge? Here is the information you need to know. This is how long it is and when it needs to be recorded by and what we need you to do and so on. We give them all of the information. And then they don't give us a price. They say, oh, well, I'd like to, sometimes people pay me this much, but I guess you're the first time I've worked with you. And so maybe we don't want that kind of conversation. We just want someone to say, hey, that's awesome. You gave us all of the information. And based upon what you're saying, it will cost X. Done. Make it clear, crisp, and really be comfortable. And for those of you who are not comfortable talking about money, get comfortable. Just like I said, play the part of a shop clerk. You look at an item and you say, this is what the item is, and that's what it costs.
I also encourage everyone to use this language in your daily life. For instance, I told my partner today that it was industry standard that he buy me a coffee. And so, yeah. Okay.
What part of the rate guide is that on? What
It's-
genre?
Food and beverage.
It's a little hidden. You have to take my class to get good at that.
I will sign up for that.
But I also want to say there's a lot. The chat is popping, and I have opinions, but I'm still gonna pass this over to you, Tom. People be like, what if I'm a beginner, and why should a relative newbie feel bound to quote only industry standard rates, rather than quoting rates commensurate with their own experience?
I will answer that question. Is it if you start out your career by immediately devaluing yourself, the industry will devalue you forever. That's
And
all I have
further
to
to
say
that
about
point,
that.
yeah, and further, that's great. And further, by devaluing your service, you're in essence telling the customer or your potential customer that you're brand new. Like, why would you want to do that to your career? I bet somewhere along the way, you've gone to a restaurant and had a waiter who was there for their first day, or you've hired a painter who was their first day painting. You probably don't know it because hopefully they run their business successfully and professionally, and they didn't tell you, by the way, you're my first customer. I hope I do a good job, but in case I screw it up, let me just charge you like half price.
Right.
You would never want to hire that painter or waiter, right?
There's a difference between being inexperienced and being unprofessional.
Well said.
You don't have to be experienced to be professional, to think professionally, to comport yourself professionally.
Which brings up a terrifying thought. At least if all of us on this call, I'm sure one of us has had a doctor or a dentist working on our bodies, and it was their first day, but we didn't know it. That's scary to think about. And luckily they didn't tell us, and you shouldn't tell anyone.
Yeah, I think George Carlin has that joke somewhere, which is somewhere out there is the world's worst doctor, and someone right now is in their waiting room reading a magazine. But anyway.
Hey, half the doctors graduated at the second half of the lower half of their class, right? The old joke.
Yeah.
I mean, I think all of that really matters. And like, more follow-ups to that are like, are you going to provide revisions? Are you going to work super hard? Are you going to give them all you've got and be professional as heck? Then you are a professional. Does your demo sound smooth as silk? Then get out in there and be your best self. And we just want to advocate for that for all of you, that just because you're starting out doesn't mean you deserve less than people who have more experience. You are just as nice of a person. You are just as good and pleasant to work with. I'm looking at your beautiful faces. By the way, great squares today. Everybody looks so good. It's really just great to see you. Laura, Joyce, you both have really good glasses on. Susan always looks beautiful. Okay, Anne's in Iowa or Idaho. I get confused. But yeah. So, I just want to say that. And also, Cleon was like, he's like, yeah, I was also talking about a general confidence thing. And I'm curious, Tom, you talked about waiting tables, and it sounds like you were not feeling great kind of in that life. Yeah. So, what is it that made you to the shift of voiceover in a way that was like, I am going to take control of this? And was there a shift in your self-esteem, self-image as well?
Yes, there was. And it was incremental. The first thing was that I read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. That was the first of many wonderful books that I had read that kind of got me on the path to having a more effective mindset. So I recommend checking that out. Another book was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, which taught me the understanding how money works. We have been trained in America to work for our money. Robert Kiyosaki in the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series trains you to understand how to make your money work for you on a technical level, creating passive income and stuff like that, but also just the mental aspect of, not being enslaved by the dollar. So for me, my self-esteem was directly correlated to my knowledge of the industry and my understanding of the industry. But also on a parallel track, it was correlated to my understanding of myself. The thing that really, really helped my self-esteem is the moment I discovered that I deserve to be successful as a professional. And then it took me a little while longer to realize that I deserve to be successful as a person. Once those two things kind of fell into place for me as both a business and a human, that's when just the life of Tom Dheere really got better. It got a lot better on a lot of levels.
Thank you. Getty said everyone deserves to be successful. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Love that. This is so good. Ooh, and they're asking if you have a book list, Tom.
I do have a book list on my coaching website, which you can check out.
We have, okay, so a lot of questions here. I mean, people are asking about, common client payment methods. Like, I mean, do you use other common payment methods aside from PayPal, or is that?
Oh my God. Okay. I get paid by check. I get paid by direct deposit. I get paid by wire transfer. I get paid by PayPal. I get paid by credit card. I have been paid by Samsung Pay, Google Pay, Venmo. So, and that's every day. I get different forms of payments and different billing cycles, because I have some clients who pay me before I do the gig. I have some clients who pay me as soon as I'm done with the gig. Some pay me 1 week out, 2 weeks out, 30 days out, 45 days out, 60 days out, and 90 days out. This is part of the practical, you need to be organized as a voiceover business to be able to accommodate all the billing cycles, all the forms of payment, and the currencies. I have a lot of European clients, so I get paid in euro as well. So your form of payment is whatever they want to pay you. Now, if they ask you, all things being equal, what do you prefer? I prefer Zelle for domestic because it's bank to bank, it's instant and it's free. And I prefer Wise for international because it takes 2 to 3 days, but there's also no fees and it goes straight into your checking account.
How often, Tom, do you audition for something outside of your wheelhouse?
Every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every day.
You want to tell us about that?
I mean, the majority of my work is e-learning, corporate industrial explainer work, but I audition for commercials and I get a few commercials every year, but I audition for commercials all the time. I'm always up for going out of my comfort zone because that's where the success is. People that are constantly working within their comfort zone, both personally and professionally, are never going to grow or learn or achieve new levels or new types of success. So now I will also pair that with get training in different genres so you can be within your comfort zone when auditioning for different projects as well. You can do both.
But also get training in different genres, at least brief training in a bunch of popular genres, because if you have a client, a regular client, they may ask you to narrate something that is different, right? Mm-hmm. So you may have a client who feeds you a commercial every day, right? And one day they say, you know what, we've given you hundreds of commercials over the past year, but could you also narrate our telephone system? Mm-hmm. And so you should be prepared for that. You should be comfortable saying, sure, absolutely. And you've dabbled in it just a little bit, and that's great. So yeah, be well-rounded. You don't have to specialize. You shouldn't. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. As I said, there are some voice actors who are the voice of their commercials and do their phone tree and do their internal training.
Yeah, the voice of a company, sure. So you don't need to be an expert in everything, and sometimes that's actually not a great thing. But be well-rounded. It's if you have some general comprehension of everything out there, you'll always do better.
Mm-hmm. This is a good question too from Jessica. I'm going to start with David for this. Is it okay to try for an audition in a genre that you do not yet have a demo in, if it otherwise seems like it could be a good fit, or however?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on how you are auditioning and where and for whom. So if it's the client coming directly at you, absolutely audition. I wouldn't put it down unless it's way out of your comfort zone and you know that you have like an inability. Um, but even in that case, I would say to the client, hey, this is out of my general knowledge or my general wheelhouse, but I'm happy to throw you an audition because I've worked with you for so many years, and something of the sort. But if you're auditioning on an online casting site, then it's fine. I mean, you can certainly go and try different genres. It's actually a great opportunity, I think, to practice and to try and get your voice out there, because sometimes you don't know what will stick. There are a lot of voice actors who break into this industry by doing a little bit of everything and seeing what sticks. Where do clients like them the best? What kind of work do they get hired for the most? And that's not always the best route to take, but very often it's a good route for certain voice actors.
Yeah. I'll also say that what you want to do in voiceovers may not be what you're good at.
Yeah.
And what you're good at voiceovers may not be something that you like. Because I'm sure many of you, for example, got into the voiceover industry because you want to do cartoons and video games. And you may not be good at it, but you may have an knack for medical narration and you didn't realize it. Oh, but that's the boring stuff, Tom. Yeah, well, you know what's boring? Being hungry. So, maybe medical narrations is the way to go. And that's how you have your voiceover career. And then you can use that money that you generate from making money doing medical narrations to fund more training in cartoons and video games.
Tom said,
or a medical cartoon. Yeah, there you go.
Tom said this thing once where he was like, Siobhan, I like to do this weird thing. It's called eating, and I like to do it 3 times a day.
Yeah.
So, like, why is Tom so shy? So here's a question from Craig. Hey, Craig, asking, everyone says to get coaching, and yes, you know what? We at Edge Studio believe that too. We're not saying like where with who, but we are saying, you need to do it. And so Craig is asking for any tips on determining what kind of coach you need to start with.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Okay. It's funny because I've been working on developing a blog that talks about exactly this thing. I haven't written anything quite down yet, but I'm sure this will resonate with David. But in my experience, there are 4 types of coaches or coaching methods. There's the drill sergeant, there is the cheerleader, there is the professor, and there is the therapist. Different types of coaches are more a percentage of one thing than the other. Like I think I am a hybrid of professor and therapist. I think that's that's pretty much how I roll. I guess, Siobhan, I don't know if you can attest to that working with me.
Can confirm.
Okay. So the question is, what kind of coaching do you need to get you where you need to go on a performance level and on an effectiveness level? Do you need somebody to scream at you? Do you need somebody to effusively praise everything that you do? Or do you need some combination of that? Do you need fierce hand-holding, or, what do you need? So look at yourself, look inward. What is your personality type? What are your friends like? Which were your favorite teachers in school? What were if you were in athletics, what were your favorite coaches? How did they get you to greatness, or whatever version of greatness you were capable of at that point in your life? You know what I mean? And find out what that is. And we have a wide variety of amazing coaches here at Edge Studio of all 4 of those personality types and combinations of those. And some of them are so darn good that they can morph themselves into whatever type that you need. So look inward, talk to the education advisors, look at the bios of the coaches, listen to the voiceover work of the coaches, and aggregate all that data. Oh, that's some grown-up right, left brain stuff I just said. And, to help you make an informed decision about what coach you think would be best for you to get the most out of you.
David, any thoughts on finding the perfect coach for you? I mean, them.
Yeah, no, I completely, thanks. I completely agree with what Tom said. I would throw in one additional thought, and this is not just because of the pandemic, but in general, I think it is much better to work with a coach wherever they happen to reside. So rather than focus on finding a coach who is nearby and you can see them face to face, I think it is much better. I know it is much better to choose the coach who is right for you, whether they are around the world or right next door. And you should generally have those sessions remotely, because as a working voice actor, the vast majority of your work will be done remotely. So if you have your coaching sessions from your home studio, you're getting comfortable at your own home studio, and that's very important. And it's just more realistic to work with someone remotely, like your clients will be over phone or Zoom or Skype or IPDTL or Source Connect and so on. So again, don't choose a coach just simply because they are nearby, but look at all of the coaches. And yeah, our coaches are we have international coaches. And so, you look at our 25 or 26 different coaches, and as Tom said, speak with one of our education advisors, and they can they can pull from you what it is that you're looking for. And as Tom said, look inward and know what it is that you want. And then our education advisors can find the right coach for you.
That is a nice thing that we offer at Edge, is that you can speak with someone about your needs and desires, and they'll match you with a human who would suit you best.
Mhm.
But I do think that all of these things are really important, and it also is something that could be a journey. Like, you have a session with someone, look, for talk about mental health, it's not that different. That's why Tom even, ID'd it that way. There's a therapy aspect to some of this, because they're building you up and helping shape your strengths and identify your weaknesses. And for people who have gone to therapy, sometimes you got to shop around. You got to go have a session somewhere, to go to different ones, see what feels good for you. And you don't need to beat yourself up about that. You're allowed to pick what you like. You're allowed to say, hey, that didn't work with this guy. I'd rather have this one. That's okay. You don't have to, commit to anybody. But it's really important to know how you want to learn. I certainly do well with a little bit of dump my heart out and tell my story, and then I get a little bit of tough love, and that works for me because I need that, and I respond well to that, and I respond well to criticism and that sort of thing, because I don't actually need to be complimented, because that's not what my training is for. My training is finding my weaknesses and helping to strengthen them. So that's a lot of stuff. um, but you can probably find a session and have somewhere. So it is good to hear. Yes. Okay. My coach says I should get more experience with acting classes or acting roles to be better at it. Yeah, we certainly endorse that as well. Anything, improv, anything that gets you more in your body. I mean, I know both David and Tom, actually, we just had big health conversations pre-show today, that we're all strong advocates of mind and body awareness and health in general.
Mhm.
And so I certainly endorse that. We are
Wait,
close.
wait, sorry, Siobhan, but one note with acting classes, and for most voice actors, they're great. Not for all, but for most. However, I would caution you, if you take an acting class, try to stick with an acting or an acting coach who's going to help teach you more about film acting, on camera acting, rather than stage acting. Voiceover is much more closely related to film and TV acting, like on camera acting, rather than stage. So there's quite, in terms of using your voice, especially in breath control, you should avoid stage.
Because you're not projecting to an entire auditorium of people when you do voiceover.
One of many reasons, yes.
Mhm.
Funny. That's yeah. Tom, any thoughts on that?
No.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I think Dave did a good job answering that. I will say this, is that when you were doing voiceover, you're reading off a printed page, and unless something really interesting happens in the moment, those words aren't going to change. So a lot of people think, well, why should I take an acting class, much less an improv class? Improv class can be the most helpful, because when you are an effective narrator, when you're an effective storyteller, you need to be making strong choices in the moment, because you're not memorizing your voiceover script, unless you are, which is interesting. I've never thought of to do that before. But you need to make it sound like these words are being uttered for the first time. So when you take improv training is all about the whole yes and, making choices and expanding on those choices in the moment. So even though you aren't changing the verbiage, the discovery of the words and the connections of this word to that word, and this sentence to that sentence, this paragraph to that paragraph, this chapter to that chapter, even if it's 15 seconds, just this thought to this thought to this thought, to come on down to it for a test drive. The more improv skills that you have, the better and quicker and cleaner and sharper and stronger the choices that you can make. And it will make you a better voice actor, unquestionably.
Yes.
Y'all, we are wrapping this up, so I just want to do my links in the chat here. We all know David has kids that he's got to pick up, and that's we didn't even have any dad jokes really today at all. It's shocking. But so this link tree here is where I keep all my favorite Edge links, including the most recent YouTube links to our Ask Me Anything sessions. But really importantly, I am dropping the Managing Your Marketing Mindset with Tom Dheere class. It is on a Sunday. So I don't need any excuses about work stuff. You have no days off. That's toxic, but whatever. No, here we go.
There's always time for learning.
There's always time for learning, and sessions with Tom are truly a delight, and I speak that with sincerity and experience. We do have our general class schedule as well as a wait list, but rumor has it, and the rumor is true, that I'm bringing back social media for voice actors in December, so we can have a good time, and we'll talk about industry standard coffees in that class. Investigate voiceover. That is for my new people who are like, what do I do? Blah. Just take a class. Take an intro class. It doesn't have to be ours, but we highly recommend that you do it with us because we will break all the things down that you need to know and help you set out on a training path that we believe will suit you best. Start somewhere, and you won't regret training with cool people who have been doing this for a while. It will make you feel better. If you are still doing foundational work in your career and kind of figuring stuff out, we have a bundle for you, a bundle of love and classes. It's classes, but it's also love, it's both. So we highly recommend you do that. If you want a session with Tom Dheere, you should book one. If you have never booked a session with us, with our AMA code, you can get $25 off to work with Tom. And I highly encourage, especially if you are like trying to figure out like, what do I do? What do I do? Where do I start? How do I organize? I'm so overwhelmed. He's your guy. I may have cried when I asked him about this. We did really well. It was good.
A little bit.
And of course, David Goldberg, you can book a session with him right here to get all your David. You get your David fix before the end of the year. Finally, we do have free stuff, just like this Ask Me Anything. Here's our resource center and our career space to get that rate card, get the things you need to get. As you all know, we've been offering this for it feels like ages, and we offer it for free because our coaches volunteer their time. Tom has joined us today of the goodwill of his heart and human, just humanity. So if we want to throw some love and shout out to Tom for in the chat for joining us today. Tom, I so appreciate you being with us. Thank you for spending this hour to hang out and talk shop, as it were. There's hearts. There's love.
Always a pleasure to do this. It's a thrill to be with you and David again. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being with us. We're super stoked about your class this month, not next month. David, any last words in our final 3 minutes here?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Great information, Tom. Like seriously, super helpful information. And Siobhan, as always, the best host. Everyone out there, thank you so much. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
We'll be back in 2 weeks. And
yeah, Siobhan, do we have anyone with us next in 2 weeks, or is it just you and I?
It's just
you
back to the OGs. Yeah. So we'll see you then, and we can, we might have some Journey song lyrics happening at that point. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody. It's so good to see everyone. Yes, and so let's just do dates real quick because we do love a Google Calendar up in our lives. I am opening it up to say we will be back the 18th. That is the week before Thanksgiving. You can tell us your plans, and we look forward to it. So thank you, and be well, everybody. Have a great rest of your Thursday mornings, evenings, and afternoons. Tom, once again, mwah, you're the best. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Okay, bye.